Before we begin tonight's story, have you ever looked at the buttons inside an elevator and thought, what if one day a new one just appeared? One you've never seen before. They say elevators are just machines, but sometimes machines remember things, even when people don't. If this is your kind of nightmare, don't forget to subscribe and drop a comment telling me, would you press it? Would you go to floor 0? Now get comfortable. Or maybe don't. This story is called The Elevator Stopped at Floor 0. Rachel had never stayed that late at the office before. It was past 11 p.m., and everyone was gone, cubicles dark, vending machines humming like distant insects. And the whole 14th floor felt like it was holding its breath. She wrapped her coat tighter and made her way toward the elevators. Ding. One opened immediately. Too fast. As if it had been waiting. Rachel stepped in, turned around, and pressed L. Lobby. She rubbed her eyes. Tired. She didn't notice it at first. But then, the panel blinked. Between the B for basement and the L for lobby, a new button flickered softly to life. 0. It hadn't been there before. Rachel stared at it, heart thudding without reason. She reached out, hesitated, her finger hovering just an inch above the strange number. And then, as if it sensed her hesitation, the button disappeared, gone, as if it had never been there. The elevator dinged again. Lobby. She walked out quickly, trying to convince herself she was just overtired. But that night, as she unlocked her apartment door, a cold draft slid past her shoulder, like someone else had walked in with her. The next morning, she checked the elevator again. Normal. No 0, no flickering. But something was wrong with the air. On her desk, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. You saw it. She dropped the phone, looked around. No one noticed. No one ever did. Over the next few days, it began to unravel slowly. Tiny things. Lights in the hallway flickering only when she walked under them. Office chairs turned ever so slightly facing her cubicle when she returned from lunch. A faint ding echoing in her dreams. And always the reflection in the elevator's stainless steel walls didn't quite move in sync. One night, she stayed late again. Not by choice. Just a report taking longer than expected. Office emptied. Silence crawled over the walls. When she stepped into the elevator, the door slid shut behind her like a whisper. She pressed L. The panel flickered. And there it was again. 0. This time it didn't disappear. She stared at it, her throat dry. A rational part of her brain screamed to ignore it. But her hand moved anyway. Click. The elevator didn't move. Instead, the lights overhead buzzed, dimmed, and then turned red. A low hum filled the space like a breath drawn in from deep underground. And the floor began to sink. Not fall, not descend. Sink. Like the whole shaft was melting into something older, deeper, secret. When the doors finally opened, what greeted her was not another lobby. It was darkness. Not pitch black, but deep. Like something was pulling the light in. A corridor stretched forward. Walls stained with moisture. Floor coated in dust and what looked like old ash. And far down that corridor, she heard it. A soft knock. Then another. Then breathing. Just behind her. She turned fast. No one. But her reflection in the elevator. It smiled. And did not stop smiling. She slammed the close doors button. Over and over. The elevator jolted once. Twice, then rose violently back up. When she stumbled out onto the lobby floor, the security guard looked up from his phone. You all right, miss? She nodded too fast. Yeah. Just tired. But as she walked past the mirrored wall beside the front desk, her reflection didn't keep pace. It stayed in the glass, watching her leave, and then slowly turned toward the elevator. Rachel didn't sleep that night. She left every light on,
even the hallway one.
She kept the TV running with the volume low, just enough to remind herself she was still in her world.
Still here, still real. But sometime around 3:12 a.m., the elevator dinged.
She lived alone, in a fourth-floor apartment. There was no reason to hear that sound from inside her unit.
And yet, it was distinct, muffled through walls.
Ding. She muted the TV. Footsteps followed soft, deliberate, walking the hallway outside her door.
Then knock. Not on her door.
On the wall right behind her bed. She pressed her back to the headboard, heartbeat breaking its own rhythm.
Held her breath. Knock. Again. 2 slow knocks.
Like someone on the other side wanted her to answer.
She didn't go to work the next day.
Couldn't. But curiosity and fear held hands in her mind. She opened her laptop and typed, "Elevator floor 0 button appears."
Results barely any.
But on page 4, buried in a decade-old Reddit thread, she found one post.
"Don't press 0. That floor isn't for you.
It remembers. And once you see it, you're already chosen."
There were no replies.
The account had been deleted.
She checked the username.
URadChell14, her own name.
Her birth date. But she had never made that account.
3 nights later, she dreamt of the corridor again.
But this time, she wasn't alone. Something crawled toward her through the ash. Not fast. Just inevitable. She couldn't see its face.
But it whispered her name like it knew it better than she did. "Rachel, Rachel, you've forgotten."
But I haven't. She woke up choking.
Ash on her pillow. Real.
She touched it. Smelled it.
Cold. Metallic. And bitter.
She called the building manager the next day.
"Have there ever been elevator issues here, like weird stops, extra buttons?"
Silence on the other end.
"Then you should come by my office.
I'll show you something."
He pulled out an old manila folder.
Yellowed. Almost crumbling.
"Back in 03 before you moved in, there was a maintenance guy.
Quiet man. Worked nights. One evening, the elevator cameras caught him going in. Alone. And she asked.
He never came out." She stared.
"What do you mean no footage of him exiting?"
"No sign he left the building. Police searched everywhere. Only thing strange, the elevator recorded a stop between B and L.
A phantom floor." Rachel's mouth was dry.
"Floor 0. The manager blinked. "I never said the number."
At night, she checked her hallway security cam. She had installed it a year ago after a break-in scare.
She fast-forwarded through the last week.
Nothing. Until the night she first saw the button, around 11:47 p.m. The footage glitched for a second, and then showed her walking to her door. But behind her, half a second delay, another figure.
Pale, no features, flickering like bad reception. But its hand was on her shoulder. She screamed, paused, rewound. It was gone. The footage corrected itself.
Only her. Alone. She started leaving notes for herself.
Sticky reminders. Do not take the elevator alone. Stay above ground after 10 p.m. It watches. But one morning, all the notes were gone, replaced with one single message.
You've already been... She didn't remember it, but she started to. Flashbacks came in broken pieces.
A stormy night, trapped in an elevator with the lights out. Voices whispering from the walls.
Her hand pressing a glowing 0. And a promise she'd made in that corridor.
If I forget, make me remember. How she knew. And now, it was coming back.
For what she owed, Rachel stopped using the elevator. She took the stairs even to the 14th floor, panting. Exhausted, but grateful for each concrete step.
But floor 0 had already followed her home. It wasn't bound to the elevator anymore. It lived in the pause between light flickers, in the hollow breath of silence when the fridge stopped humming, in the second reflection in her bathroom mirror that blinked just a fraction too late. And the knocking, it had learned the layout of her apartment. Now it came from the ceiling, from under the sink, from behind the walls.
Always 2 knocks, always slow. always followed by her name. She tried to record it, set up microphones, cameras. Every time she played the footage back, there was only static. But when she looked closely, frame by frame, she saw it. In the static, a hallway that didn't belong to her apartment. That familiar corridor with crumbling walls and ash-stained floors. And at the end of it, her, standing still, facing the camera, except her eyes were completely black. And she was smiling. Desperate, she contacted a priest. Not for an exorcism, just someone to tell her she wasn't losing her mind. He listened, quietly. Then, he asked her one question. "Do you remember your first death?" She stared at him, unsure if she had misheard. But he looked serious, said, "Some places aren't for the living or the dead. They're for the unfinished." Later that week, she found an article online archived from 2003. Elevator accident kills one. Woman survives with amnesia. She clicked it. The survivor's name. Rachel Elise Warner. Her name, her face. But she didn't remember any of it. She zoomed in on the photo taken from the crash site. In the blurry background, barely visible through the elevator door, the glowing number 0. Everything came crashing back. The accident. The way she had stumbled out. Bleeding. Delirious. A hand cold and dry gripping hers. Whispering, "If you live, you will forget." But we won't. She had been marked. And now, the marker was coming to collect. One final night, she dreamt the corridor again. But this time, she didn't wake up. She walked. Past the ash. Past the flickering lights. To the door at the end. Carved into it. Crudely scratched. Rachel W. Claimed but returned. And below that, in fresher marks, return finalized. The door creaked open, and she stepped in. In the morning, her apartment was empty. Lights still on. TV still playing white noise. Coffee mug half full. But Rachel was gone. Her phone lay on the floor near the elevator, open to a photo she had taken. An elevator panel. Only one button lit. 0. And just before the screen went black, her reflection could be seen in the panel's brushed metal. Smiling. They never found her. But sometimes, residents say they see a woman standing in the elevator late at night, always alone. Always pressing a button that doesn't exist. And the next morning, someone else in the building doesn't wake up. So if you ever find yourself in an elevator and the 0 lights up, don't press it, or do. It doesn't matter anymore. Once you've seen it, you're already going back. Thanks for staying until the end. If you're still here, you might want to check your hallway mirror, just in case your reflection is smiling back. When you're not, sleep well, if you can.